And Loretta doesn't live over where you live, I guess.
Yes, sir.
She's moved to we don't need to give. I don't want to give out her location either, but she's moved to this area code here, I guess.
It's the same area code where I am.
Okay. When were you? When was the divorce final? It's public record, so I can find out.
November, sometime in November.
Okay. Now,
this is the easy part, right?
yeah. Whenever you're talking about your ex-wife, it's easy. You go home that night. How much time transpires before you have anything else to do with Dominic Casey, Cindy Anthony, Casey Anthony, George Anthony, anybody else?
Gosh. That was on Saturday. I think maybe the following. I think it might have been the following Friday. Again, I don't know the exact date, but probably following Friday. Had gone down and there was a crowd of people and I'm trying to remember if I talked to Dominic before that. I may have talked to Dominic in that interim, that week, but I'm not sure. Again, you pull my phone records and check it, certainly.
Has anyone checked? Has anyone subpoenaed your cell phone records?
Yeah, you're welcome to do it. Just
have the police done that yet?
You had to ask the police.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, sir.
You don't know. But go ahead.
I only went down there a couple nights a week. Usually like on Friday and Saturday night because it seems to be when the I don't know what the term to call these people. Just say people who went down there intent on harassing the family. And I would go down usually just on a Friday and Saturday for 4 or 5 hours when there's the biggest crowds and the most what's the word I want to use here? Just there were just a lot of people down there who were just harassing a family that when I talk about family, I'm talking about George and Cindy primarily, who didn't deserve it. I mean, I'm sure you saw the news where people were going down there, but with threats and just wasn't right.
Okay. The cell phone you have today, is that the same cell phone number you had last year?
Yeah, I've had the same one for years. Yes, sir.
Have you ever had another cell phone?
I've had 3 on the same account, but I've only used the one.
You have 3 different numbers?
Not anymore, no.
When was the last time you got rid of you had 3 numbers at one time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one for my wife and one for my child.
Okay. And but the same. If I was to subpoena your cell phone records, there's only one number that you've had for the last 2 years.
The one that I've used, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. Let me get back to this. I'm trying to figure out. A week went by before you saw Dominic and.
No. Actually, it was probably several weeks where I actually met Dominic, but I think I talked to him on the phone a few times.
Okay. What did you all talk about?
Primarily just just basically if I was going down, if I was going to go down like on a Friday or Saturday, what time I was going to be there. A couple times he told me he had other people down there. I never met anybody down there, as far as I know that he had down there. Not much really. Just he asked me if I was going to be down there, so I'd be down there. And, he said that. And then the one time I went down there, he was down there. He asked me to come down at I think like 5:36 that time slot, and that was the first time I'd met him. But that was like a few weeks after that initial contact with the Anthonys.
Okay.
And we met, and we just talked, just PI talk basically, or just general information.
Let's talk about. You go down there on a Saturday. Mm-hmm. Is it your testimony that you went back the next week?
Mm-hmm. I think it was the following Friday.
That's a yes.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And the following Friday, you said?
Yes, sir.
And what made you go back over to the Anthony house that following Friday?
Well, the same thing as I said earlier. You watch the news reports, you see people down there trying to pull them out of the house, trying to pull them off the driveway. Just, people don't deserve that kind of treatment. And if I can go down there and stand between, somebody who's doing that and the Anthonys, then I'll do it. and I did it.
Did you carry a weapon when you went down there?
Didn't need to.
But did you have a weapon on you when you were down there?
Didn't need to. No.
Okay, so that's a no.
That's a no.
And so you decided to go down there to. Did you ever see them being pulled out of the house? You mentioned they were being pulled out.
Not out of the house, on the street, the driveway, let's say.
People were physically pulling touching the Anthonys and pulling them into the street.
Sure.
Wow.
And of course, when you see George reacting to it,
Right.
I mean, there was even scenes where I think Cindy went and got a baseball bat or came out with a baseball bat. If people feel that threatened, there's a problem.
Did George know your name by the time you got back the second time? Did he say, "Hey"?
Well, that's a question you'd have to ask George. I can't answer
You don't
for him.
remember him saying your name?
I don't know if I remember him saying my name the whole time I was down there.
Really?
Yeah, I mean.
You think he knew what your name was?
Yeah, I think so. Sure.
Okay. Now, so you went down there that following Friday night.
Early evening, we'll say.
And so is your testimony, you're there for 4 or 5 hours?
Yeah, usually go down 5 or 6. Depends when the crowds would leave. They were sometimes it'd be 10 o'clock. People would be, they'd be gone by that time. Sometimes it'd be 11, once or twice as later.
And your testimony is your motivation was to give them some protection.
Support, protection if they need it. Yeah.
When you were down there, would you speak to the Anthonys that night, that Friday night? Did you speak to George or Cindy?
I don't think I saw them. I would see them when they came in and went out. I spoke to them when they came out, certainly. When they had the vigils, I was there and spoke to them, of course.
Okay. And then after that Friday, when was the next time you went down to?
The next day, Saturday.
So you went back home and then drove back the next day, Saturday?
Sure.
You say sure as like
yes, sir.
No, but you say sure like
sorry.
Of course. I mean, why'd you go back the next day?
For the same reason I was there the first day.
Support.
Yes, sir.
How long were you there that day?
Again, it would vary. It might have been 2 or 3 hours. It might have been 4 hours. I mean, I didn't keep a record. There was,
of course not.
Nothing like that.
Of course not. What would you do all day that Saturday when you're down there 2 or 3 hours?
Well, it depends. I might have been working the case earlier during the day. I may have been, I'm
talking about when you were at the Anthony family. When you were at the home, what would you do that Saturday?
I would stand out in front of the house and basically keep people from. I don't know if you ever went down there, but people would throw stuff at the house. They'd shine bright lights in the house. It's just a pretty unruly group of people, for the most part. I didn't speak to anybody. Just
what was your role down there?
Just keep people from going into the house, or
So there were people trying to storm the house?
There had been, yeah.
And did you have to get physical with them?
No, I didn't have to.
Well, how would you stop them from storming the house?
How did I stop them? The people, for the most part, they were rude, but they weren't physical. Yeah, a few people. I mean, there were people who, there's even police reports of people trying to break into the house, I think, late at night or throwing stuff at the garage or just.
I guess you felt that your presence intimidated them and not to do what they.
Yeah, people come up. They want to get close to the house to, get pictures taken. Not everybody was rude, or some people were just curious.
And then you would say what? Back up, get back, slow down. How'd you stop them? Just your physical presence.
Pretty much. The only time there was any really kind of altercations was a few times that they had the vigils, because there'd be they would have people who would come to the vigil, and then there'd be people on the other side of the street, saying really uncouth remarks, we'll say, and it's just pretty nasty,
There's nothing you could do to stop that, could you?
No. But they had the vigil, and Jordan and Cindy were, just say we got to think positive. I was just there just to make sure that nobody, attempted to harm the family. That's all.
Okay. When was the next time you came to the Anthony home?
I went down several weekends, but not every weekend. When I say weekends, it's usually Friday or Saturday, because again, that's usually when was the most unruly people were there, I guess.
Were you working other cases during this period of time?
Probably. Well, I'm saying probably, yeah.
And so class action would have a record of those cases that you were working?
Sure.
How much time elapsed from the time you first went down there on that Friday night to the first time you physically met Dominic Casey?
I'm gonna guess. And again, it's just a guess. I'm gonna guess 3 weeks. I'd say 3 weekends, possibly on the third or fourth weekend.
Is this August or September?
It was either the last week in August or probably the first. Probably August. Probably last week in August, maybe, or probably last week in August.
During this whole period of time, had you been having conversations with Dominic Casey before you physically met him, other than those first couple that first week?